Hi, I'm Michael, and behind the camera is Ellie. We are the Bill Paying Hobbyists, and we're using our hobbies and skill sets to pay down debt and to save up for a down payment on a house. The Butcher Block Industrial Combo has been around for a long time, and it is hotter than ever. A Butcher Block coffee table can cost $700 or more. One DIY trick is to use a length of Butcher Block countertop like this one from Lowe's, but that can still cost around $300. We're going to show you how we hack this interior design style on an extreme budget. Let's get to it. This coffee table my aunt gave to us for free. She's had it sitting in a shed for about 11 years. She didn't need it anymore. We said, sure, we'll take it. We had all of this wood from a piece of furniture that was given to us as well, and we decided to reclaim it because we weren't going to use it as the couch that it was. I started cutting it up with my bandsaw and realized that it's not cutting as straight as I want. Luckily, we have our new refurbished shop equipment, so now I have a table saw, and we're going to take all of this wood and we're going to cut it down to the lengths we want to give us the butcher style look and get it to the right size, and we'll move on to the next step from there. Step one, get them all ripped down to the correct width. This is all the wood that we were able to cut down and reclaim from the furniture that we cut up. We decided that we're going to go with 1 inch wide pieces of wood and about 1 1/4 inch thick. So the first step is we need to cut everything down to 1 inch. I'm going to use the table saw for that and set up my rip fence and do it that way. The great thing about this is Ellie has always loved the butcher box style kind of stuff, and I like the industrial thing, so we're kind of combining it together and making it work. Make sure my saw is not plugged in. You always do that first. Put your table saw blade just a little bit above the piece of wood that you're cutting. It doesn't need to be all the way up. That's plenty. Now I'm going to set my rip fence at 1 inch. When you look at the teeth on your saw, it alternates. This one sticks out, that one sticks out. You want to pick the one that's closest to the fence, and I'm going to set it up 1 inch. So 1 inch. Check the front. Lock it down. And I'm at 1 inch. Now I'm ready to cut. Here we go. Make sure you wear earplugs, safety glasses. We got all of the pieces ripped down to the 1 inch that we want using the table saw. Now I'm going to plane all 4 sides so that I can make sure they're nice and flat, and then we're going to move on to the next step after that. So let's go. Earplugs, safety glasses, and get to it. I've planed all 4 sides, and I'm ready for my next step, which is I'm going to use my compound miter saw to square off every end. Your next step, what you want to do is lay everything out and make sure that you have enough wood and pick the pattern that you want to. Are you going to choose a herringbone pattern? Are you going to just lay it out randomly? Are you going to try to make them all the same length? We're going to use random first. I'm going to go to my compound miter saw, square off every end, and then we'll lay it out, make sure we have everything that we need, and from there, that's when we start the gluing process. So let's get to it. Did you get it? Yeah. We moved everything inside for this part. We're gluing up everything. Ellie went through and she stained the pieces that she wanted stained for the different colors so we can get an idea when we put it together. We're gonna assemble everything together dry, figure out where we want it, and then we're gonna glue it. However, I need to glue it in 2 different sections, 12 inches wide, because my planer will only do 12 inches at a time. So I'll have to do it in 2 different sections. Then once it's planed, we'll put those 2 together and make it as seamless as possible and move on to the next step. We're inside because we're in Florida, and yeah, it's 90% humidity outside. Let's get to it. We let this dry for over an hour. I didn't have enough clamps to do both sections at the same time, so I have to wait. So now I'm gonna take this loose and I'm gonna let it rest, and I'm gonna work on the other one and get it glued together, and then we'll move to the next step. We moved outside. Our next step is going to be to plane the two pieces. So I'm going to remove the clamps. We are pretty excited to see what this is going to turn out like, especially since it's the first time I've ever done this and probably doing some things wrong, but you know what? Right now it's working. Learning as I go. It fell apart.
No, it did not.
Remember where your earplugs, these things are loud. These happen to be my earplugs that I can listen to music with as well. Safety glasses, I'm gonna put those on in just a second. I think we're ready to go. Oh, look at that, not hard at all. We got both sections planed off at the same height. So I'm gonna clean all this mess up. I'm gonna blow these off really good, take them inside, and we're gonna glue these two halves together. And I'm gonna try to keep them as level as possible. And then we're gonna clamp it up, and we're gonna let it sit overnight and dry. And then tomorrow, we will hack them off on the ends at 50 inches and do our last sanding. And, well, not the last sanding, because we actually have a lot of holes and gaps to fill. And we have some neat tricks we were thinking about doing for that. So let's get that done. Turned out pretty good, except your stain's gone.
What happened?
Your stain's gone.
Who could have predicted that would happen?
I like it like this though. And she wants it stained like little pieces, checkerboard, whatever pattern got going on. She's gonna have a lot of fun with that. We got everything moved inside. All I need to do now is glue in those two pieces together. So I'm gonna glue that joint. I also made sure that I kept, when I was ripping all these down with the table saw, I kept all the sawdust. It's not for shop, dog. You want to smell it? Yeah, it's all wood. You don't want that, buddy. Not this kind of wood. You can't chew on that. I'm going to mix it with some glue, and I'm going to use it to fill any of these little holes. It's going to be a coffee table. We don't want dust and all that stuff getting in it, so I need to fill those holes in. And it's the same wood that it was cut with, so it will match almost identical. And any of the gaps that we might have got in between the two pieces of wood, I'll fill all those in too. First step, I got to glue those two pieces together. Mix it up, making some homemade wood filler. Some glue, wood shavings, make a paste, about like toothpaste. We let it sit overnight, so we brought it outside. I'm gonna take the clamps off of it. We're gonna sand off all the extra wood filler that I put in and get rid of the glue line in the center. Then we'll have to tape it off and get ready to do the stain. So let's get the clamps off. The coffee table is 21 5/8 of an inch wide. And
in regular person speak, what is that?
It's almost 22 inches. And it's 47 5/8 of an inch long, almost 48 inches. This is 23 13/16 wide, which gives me 2 3/16 of an inch. Almost 2 1/4 that I can use for an overhang on either, so I have an inch and 1/8 on either side, front to back. So I need to cut this one at 4'1" and 13/16, which is just over 49 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna square off the ends. So from like that, I'm going to add 4 7/16 of an inch. So 4'6" and 1/4 inches. 4'6" 1/4 inches. Whew, I'm glad I checked. That's why you always measure twice and cut once. So this is your top. Just gotta finish sanding it down and stain it. It's staining time and I'm not doing it outside. I'm bringing it inside and do it in the AC. We took a picture before we planed the pieces so we knew what color scheme we wanted and where we wanted black and the gray. So now I'm gonna take some painter's tape and I'm gonna paint over all the pieces we want to keep natural and all the pieces that we want to put the smoked glaze on. Can't even talk. You're also gonna see when you look down on the top that Ellie wanted a hand-tooled look, so went through and did all of those wonderful little gouges and hammer marks and saw marks and all of that. Step one, get the taping. All right, so I'm gonna use the painter's tape and I'm gonna cover all the pieces that we wanna keep natural. From there, I'm gonna use a Rust-Oleum chalk smoked glaze and we're gonna do the ones that we wanted gray that were off the picture. Then I'm gonna let that dry and I'm gonna tape those up and then I will do the Minwax True Black on that. We got all the glaze on. Now I'm gonna tape over the areas we wanna keep gray, keep the areas taped that are natural, and then the next step will be staining with the ebony, or black. What is it, deep black, dark black? Some kind of black, it's black. Tomorrow, we'll get the black on here. We'll see what happens. So work got in the way, I'm back, and while I was gone, Ellie stepped in and finished the staining on our top. Just so you know, we have history with glaze. It likes to bleed under tape, painter's tape. So this time when we did it, we were using a rag, and hopefully we didn't put it on thick enough to where it wouldn't bleed. And hopefully the stain that Ellie used did not bleed under the tape as well. We're gonna peel it off and see what we got. If it did bleed, we have a plan to try to make it look good, but we're gonna peel the tape off and see what we got. So here we go. That's not too shabby. If it does bleed through, we're just gonna sand out those areas lightly and give it a distressed look. We'll see what it looks like when we're done. We got all the tape off. We have some bleed, so we're gonna take some 320 grit and just go across the lines real lightly. Try to get them to blend in, give it a little distressed look, and go from there. We'll let it sit for a couple days. So we'll see you in a few days. We still got a lot of bleed through from the tape. We have some areas where you can actually see a pretty prominent little swirl where the stain bled through underneath the tape. So I'm taking some 320 grit sandpaper and just kind of blending that in. It gives it a distressed look and helps blend it all in together. We knocked all the hard lines off with some 320 grit. That way it looks more like we bought it at Granny's garage sale from 1950 instead of going straight to IKEA. Now I'm going to blow it off. Then we're going to wipe it down with some tack cloth. Then I'm going to give it a pretty healthy coat of the Bullseye Shellac. That'll help seal everything in and keep it smooth. And then we'll give it as many coats as we feel are necessary for the Minwax Clear Matte. This is actually water-based and it makes it really nice to work with. Let's get to work. Quick even strokes back and forth, overlapping. I'm currently about 8 inches away. Time for a second coat of shellac. We've let this dry for a little bit more than an hour. The shellac really made the colors in the wood, the natural wood color and everything come out, and it looks beautiful. It gave us a little bit of a sheen that we don't want, so we're hoping that this clear matte acrylic clear matte will help take that sheen out and give it a good coat and see what happens. This is the coffee table base we're gonna put the butcher block top on. We need to scuff sand it a little bit. We're gonna use 320 grit sandpaper. We're just gonna lightly sand it, just something for the paint to adhere to. We've had this Fusion all-in-one. It's an metallic oil rubbed bronze. We've had it for a while. I think I accidentally bought it when we were doing Halloween decorations and I thought it was black because the top is black, it's not bronze. Before I do any of that though, I'm gonna drill the pilot hole, or the holes I need to drill to go through this to be able to attach the butcher block to, and I'm gonna use these screws to attach it. So first things first, I'm gonna drill pilot holes where I want them, or holes all the way through here, and then I'll scuff sand and then we'll paint it. It's hot out here. In between getting the bottom part of the coffee table ready, we need to bring this out. It's had its first coat of poly on it. We're going to put the second coat. This time I'm going to spray it this way. I'm going to go this way, basically full 360 coverage. One thing we did notice, the first coat, all through here, it's spider webbed, it crackled. For us, it's amazing. I love the way it looks. Ellie loves the way it looks. We're going to research it to figure out why it did it. You may not like it. Just be aware that it happened and keep that in mind. I'm not going to sand this. It's nice and smooth right here. I'm not going to sand it yet. I may sand it after this coat. Maybe this crackle will stay. So let's get to painting. We got two really good coats of poly on it. I'm going to do a very light hand sand with 320. I always wear a glove with tack cloth. This stuff gets sticky residue all over your hands. I don't like it. When painting with our oil rubbed bronze, I got a little bit of a run. I tried to brush it out. It didn't work very well. I'm going to need to sand it very lightly, get rid of the brush strokes, and I got a little bit of run on the legs at the bottom. I'm going to sand that lightly, wipe it off, and then give it a nice little quick coat of paint, and we'll be done with this thing. Ta-da! This is the bottom. We need to protect it. It's bare wood. I need to seal it so that it doesn't collect moisture, dust, all that other good stuff. So I'm going to seal it with some shellac, and if I don't think that that's sealed enough when I'm done, I'll put a single coat of the clear mat on the bottom of it. We just want to protect it and make it last as long as possible. The shellac is dry. I'm going to put one coat of poly on the bottom. I have 2 cans that are close to empty. After I put the coat on, we're going to put the table right on it, put it in place, drill a pilot hole, screw it off. I'll explain a little bit what I did with the screws and stuff when we're getting ready to do that, but I'm going to get this covered first. We're ready to mount the old coffee table to the new top. I'm using their headlock screws. They're 2 7/8 inches long. I had already cut them down before, so now they're cut down to 2.5, just under 2.5 inches. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get it even. I'm gonna clamp it down. I'm gonna use some slats of wood on the bottom to protect the table, clamp it down into place, and then I'm going to drill a pilot hole into the wood with a 3/16 bit with my drill bit, and then I'm going to drill these in very slowly so that I can get them in, and once that the head is snug with the frame, I'm stopping. When I drilled these holes, I used a 5/16 bit, and it's actually big enough that the taper on the head of these screws fits into the hole, so I don't have to worry about pushing that down, concaving my frame. So first things first, let's get it centered and then we'll clamp it down. All right, it's numbers time. This has been a long time coming. Ellie has been wanting to do this since we talked about it probably 4 or 5 months ago. The wood that we used for this butcher block came from furniture that we got for free. I originally ripped it down with my bandsaw. I got the table saw, so I was able to rip it down better and make it even. And then I had the planer, and I was able to plane everything down. So the tabletop itself, free. The actual coffee table, the frame of the coffee table, that came from my aunt. Coffee table free. The screws that I had, that I used, these headlocks that I used, and we had had them. They were free. All of this stuff we were using on other projects, all free. The only thing we had to buy were the bar clamps. I didn't have any long enough to hold it together while we were gluing it. These bar clamps go for $64 on Amazon. So cost $64. The wood glue, I did have to buy some more wood glue. It was $17 at Lowe's for the gallon of glue. So we're looking at $64 plus $17, that is $81. At the beginning of this video, we told you if you bought a butcher block already made from Lowe's, runs about 300 bucks. If you buy one of these already made, the cheapest one we could find was around $700. So you're looking anywhere from $300 to $700. That means we saved, let's call it even, $200 to $600 to make this beautiful table. And Ellie's ecstatic, and I wish I could put her on camera to show you the smile that she has right now. We did put another coat. We flipped it over and said, you know what, we have it, might as well put another coat on it. So it's a little glossy right now, we put another coat on it. We're gonna let it sit for a few days and let it climatize to the house and let the poly get nice and hard before we use it, but we're done. We just saved ourselves anywhere from $200 to $600 with a little bit of effort, lots of smiles, and lots of fun. Thanks for watching. We hope you had a good time. We hope you subscribe. We hope you learned something. Please come back and see us. We'll see you next week. One quick thing before we go, we found out what caused the crackle in the shellac. It was the moisture in the wood. We're in Florida, 60% humidity. We kept the wood out in the garage, therefore the wood had moisture in it. Luckily, when we put the poly over it, it sealed it all up and it made it look perfect. So keep that in mind for your next project.